All right. Welcome to Wines and Wonders. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a new way to view us as we have some video, if you're looking at us via video. I am so excited to have with me today Katie Mullaly. She is the publisher and author of the Land of Children's Books, and she's a good friend of mine here in Park City. As you can see, we're in our own quarantine right now. And welcome to the show, Katie.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So excited to have you here. I've been a supporter of your children's books since they started coming out. In fact, in an optimistic way, I've bought multiple sets for whatever future grandchildren I will have. So happy about that. And thank you so much for being here. So Katie is as I said, the author and publisher of a series of what will be 12 books. And she currently has published 4 of them. The list of titles is The Land of Or, How to Make Good Choices. The Land of And, Ways to Include Others and Accept Differences. The Land of I Am, How to Recognize and Get Past the Negative Labels we give ourselves. And The Land of Now, and that is how to stay in the present. And we're going to be focusing today quite a bit on the land of now, because that is the message that for many of us and for our kids, if you have kids, may be really one of the most valuable lessons to talk about right now in our lives as we're dealing with isolation and trying to socially distance ourselves from each other and minimize the spread of this virus. So, Katie, you have had all sorts of crazy jobs, I know, but maybe you can tell us what's, in your opinion, the jobs or the situations or the life experiences that you've gone through that have prepared you best for writing these children's books?
Well, I remember a few years ago when I had my real job, worked at the county, and I started to compile the list of the random smattering of skills that I had: website design, writing, public speaking, design work, all of these things I had compiled over a lifetime. And I was at the point in my life where I knew I needed to make a change or something needed to change. So, was I going to focus on something, specialize in one thing? And after I looked at all of this, again, random smattering of skills, I realized that I really liked being pretty good at a lot of things and had no idea what they were going to apply towards at that point. And so I think now running a business, writing books, selling books, all of the things that go along with running a publishing company and living your purpose, all those little skill sets I've developed over the last 53 years all play into what I'm doing. And so I could never say there's been one job or one experience that provided the most skill set, but it was an embracing of everything that I could do. And I think a lot of us don't want to be pretty good at a lot of things. We feel obligated to be really good at one thing. But it's okay to be pretty good at a lot of things because that pretty good can apply to something amazing.
What an interesting way to approach this and way to try to incorporate all of your skills, all of the facets of your life. And that's really beautiful. And were you always a fan of rhyming and words and that? Or did that come after this decision?
Like all of us, or most of us, I have met people who don't like Dr. Seuss. I've always loved Seuss. I've always loved rhyme, Shel Silverstein. Whenever I read books to kids, I always prefer to read it in rhyme. And because I tend to choose, if there's an easy way to do something and a hard way, I tend to choose the hard way. So let's write in rhyme, because not only do you limit the number of words that you have because you're writing a children's book, but then you severely truncate those words because they have to rhyme. So
I love it. Let's make it the hardest possible.
Let's take the hardest route possible.
I love it. Since I'm so excited and I've never done a video call and Zoom, I never gave our listeners an overview of what's going to happen today. So we're going to be talking about Katie's book, The Land of Now. And in fact, in just a minute, she's going to read it to us. And then we're going to talk about, I will be presenting as an executive sommelier. I'll be presenting a type of wine that I've chosen to pair with the land of now. And then our last segment will be me choosing a specific wine to go with the land of now. And so, anyway, so I just wanted to give you guys out there a little overview as to what we would be doing. So, Katie, I alluded to this. Do you want to go ahead and give us a little read of this book? I'd
Yeah.
love to hear it. Also, if you're, since we won't be able to see the illustrations on as Katie reads, there will be a link in the show notes on winesandwonders.com. There will be a link to a YouTube channel where Katie is reading over the illustrations that are absolutely gorgeous illustrations. And so that will be available as we are all remaining in isolation. After isolation is finished, she'll take that down. But for all of us right now, it's a great resource. All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, land of now. Again, it's about how to be present. You'd think I'd have this memorized by now.
And who's the illustrator?
Oh, my illustrator. I'll show this front cover. Can you see that?
We can. Yeah, there we
Okay,
go.
so his name is Toby Allen. He's a brilliant young man from England who I had seen his work before I started writing. Before I even started writing, that was the winter when you go in deep and come out the other end with a completely different path for life. And I had fallen in love with his work. And he was the only one that I could ever imagine being my illustrator. And fortunately, when it came time to work together, he said yes. And we've never actually met face to face, short of a video that we created for our Kickstarter campaign last year.
And that was all done via technology, right? You
Yeah,
haven't actually,
yeah,
that's just,
FaceTime.
oh,
That
boy,
was it.
it's such an interesting world. And it's allowing us to stay in touch these days as well. So that's
Yeah.
great. All right, we're ready.
Okay,
Thank you.
land of now. And again, you'd think I'd have it memorized by now. There once was a time I was roaming about, feeling lost and so very befuddled. I was stuck in a place full of chaos and haze, with my mind all distorted and muddled. Then I noticed among all the clamor and mess someone so peaceful and quiet. I asked, "How can you sit there so calm and so still? Don't you see all this ruckus and riot?" Let me set the scene. The kid is in this land, it's just full of chaos and haze and craziness. "No, I don't, my young friend," said the undisturbed one, "because I'm in a place full of peace. I'm in land of now where there's stillness and calm, but you're trapped in your thoughts that don't cease. Even though we're both here in this very same place, sharing this very same spot, your view of the now is unruly and wild, thanks to your unending thoughts. If you'll sit down right here and let me be your guide, and take a small moment to pause, I can show you the reason for all this commotion and get rid of the actual cause." I did not want to stop because I was convinced that I needed to keep moving through and out past this racket I didn't create. I was certain that's what I should do. But the guide said you can't, because this place that you're in is the now, and it's always with you. There is never a time when you're not in the now. It's a place that you will always be. But because your mind is somewhere so far away, it can ruin the now that you see. So sit down, relax, and we'll clear all this up. If you listen, I can show you how. Though I didn't believe that this mess came from me, I sat with my guide in the now. To remove all the fog, the first thing you must do is learn the real source of this tizzy. What's blocking the now comes from all of your thoughts, and your mind always being so busy. See, these thoughts are just stories. Most don't have a use. All they do is just clutter your head. Once you figure this out, they can pass and move on, and you'll start to find now, the guide said. "Yeah, but these thoughts, don't I need all of them?" I blurted, so very confused. "'Cause I'm always thinking. My brain's always full. Don't all of my thoughts have a use?" "No," said the guide, "since the thing about thoughts is they're full of this meaningless chatter, yammering endlessly, filling your head with stuff that does not really matter. What they actually do is obscure what is real and turn into a screen that can hide all that's happening here in this moment we have, so you miss out on now," said the guide. "To uncover the now and get rid of this ruckus, you need to stay quiet and hear each of the thoughts that you're constantly having, and let them begin to appear. Then you will become the observer who sees all these thoughts that can mess up your view. From there, they'll become something separate, distinct, that are outside and other than you. You see, you want your thoughts, but these things like to linger, running amuck in your head. But when you understand that they're not who you are, they can all clear out instead. I wasn't so sure this would actually work, but I wanted to give it a try and see if my thinking could somehow take shape to discover the now with my guide. The first thoughts I saw looming there in the haze brought with them worry and fret. They made me quite nervous of what was to come, of a future that wasn't here yet. I began to stress out over what might occur. There were so many possible things about the next day or the next year to come. Who knows what the future could bring? Oh, these thoughts, said the guide. Do they offer a plan or actions you can't take today? Because if you do something here and then act in the now, you can keep future worries away. But if all of these thoughts only bring with them fear of things that you cannot control, you should just ignore them. They have nothing to give. Please do not let them take hold. Instead, try to bring your mind back to this moment by taking a big deep breath in. And this trick will help you return to the now where these future worries can't win. So I looked at them all and I took what was useful, actions that could be applied. Then I let all these future thoughts flutter away and came back to the now with my guide. The next thoughts that appeared were of things from my past, like errors that still caused regret, and ways I was treated that still made me mad, all these times I could just not forget. Yes, your sorrow is from what has happened before, but you cannot go back there to mend, because what has occurred is now done, said the guide. The past cannot change, my young friend. But what you can do is begin to let go of this time that is over and gone. Only then can you truly be here in the now, when the past has released and moved on. Well, yeah, but I'm sorry for how I behaved, and still hurt from how they made me feel. I cannot just let these things go, I continued, because they're still painful and real. But you're only affected by thoughts from the past because your thinking helps keep them alive. If you listen and use my advice, the guide said, these thoughts can no longer survive. You must first forgive you for the way you behaved, set yourself free from your shame, then release the bad feelings about all the others so you can let go of the blame. But if these past events offer something to learn and apply to the now, you will find that when you forgive, then move on and let go, you will do things much better next time. I let the past go, but held on to its lessons, so I could forgive and allow these old thoughts to leave, since they didn't belong with me and my guide in the now. The last of these thoughts that were blocking the now were insisting that things should all shift. They wanted it their way, to change what was fact, and did not like what is and were miffed. This pair, warned the guide, won't accept how things are, so they will not ever approve. These thoughts will resist when you try to let go. It is hard to convince them to move. Yeah, but I wish that I was in charge. I don't like what is, I then cried. But you have no say in what happens out there, only how you react, said the guide. Instead of just longing for things to be different, why don't you try to embrace all that actually is and allow what is real to enjoy what you have in this space? And when you decide to be grateful instead for what really is in this land, all that you have will begin to shine through and the beauty of now will expand. So I looked all around and I chose to be thankful, and then I began to decide to let go of control and accept all that is and appreciate now with my guide. Then all of the chaos and fog disappeared, thanks to my thoughts moving past. I started to see what was truly around. I was in land of now here at last. Wow, I exclaimed. How'd I miss all this wonder? Why couldn't I see it before? This place is amazing. I feel so at peace. Oh, please tell me there's more. What you see, said the guide, it has always been here, but the splendor of now wouldn't show until you had become very present and still and had let all the useless thoughts go. So now that they're gone, you can start to enjoy this spot right here under our tree and live in the moment. this beautiful place in land of now here with me. Yeah, but what can I do when the chaos comes back and all of the thinking returns? I want to stay here in the now, I proclaimed. Is there something that I can still learn? Yes, said the guide. You must learn to detect when your thinking has taken command. If you feel worried or anxious or sad, it can mean you are not in this land. Once you're aware that these thoughts have come back, just remember the skills you have gained, how to clear up your mind and be here in the now so that none of these thoughts can remain. Just shift your attention and wiggle your toes, then feel the cool breeze on your face or focus on sounds that you hear all around. It will help you stay here in this place. So now when my mind gets all flustered and full and the mayhem wells up from inside, I'll pause for a moment and take a deep breath to stay in the now with my guide. This land of now is here for you too. It's something we all can possess. When you learn to let go of the thoughts you don't need, you'll be free of the chaos and stress. You see, my dear friend, you are always in now. So please do not waste one more minute being stuck in your thoughts, missing out on what's here. The now's all there is, so be in it. The end.
That is so awesome,
Thank you.
Katie. Gosh, so many different lessons that we can take from that. But I wanted to talk about just three of them
Mhm.
that you have cited as some of the best pieces of the book that you enjoy out of it. And one was how to accept what is and to better deal with reality. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that focusing, and do you have any tools beyond the book which we can all share with our kids and ourselves truly? How do we accept what is and how do we better deal with the reality that we've got going on right now? Because I feel personally the fear and the craziness coming in on me, and
Mhm.
then yet I'm getting so much wonderful time with my own kids, and sitting down and watching a movie in the middle of the day that we don't do, but we're
Yeah.
having fun doing it. So maybe you could give us a little bit of input on that.
Yeah. I'm pulling up my travel guide. I think when we talk about being in the now, so many times we associate not being in the now with either worrying about the future or regretting the past. But we forget that if we're ruminating on things that we don't like that are happening around us, that's just as detrimental to not being in the now. So, you sit and you think about there's things going on that we don't like that scare us that, I wish things were different. I wish I wasn't working from home, or I wish I, could see my family, or, I wish things were different. That keeps us out of the now. What I always say is if it's something that you can make a difference with, then do it. So, I mean, one common thing, especially as women, well, we don't like to accept maybe the fact that we need to lose 10 pounds. Well, you know what? If you don't like that, instead of it, you either accept it or you exercise. When there's something big and scary going on, such as a global pandemic,
Whew.
you have to accept what's going on and you have to take charge over what you have control over. You can't control the illness, what's happening globally. You can't control what the government's decided to do. You can control how you react with your family at home. You can control maybe planning ahead or enjoying the moment with your kids and watching a movie. You can control if you're going to stay in a state of fear all the time or just patience and love. You look at you look at really what it is you don't like. The fact maybe you don't like your relationship. Well, are you going to change it or are you going to stick with it? Because that's one of those two things. You have to accept what it is, or you have to understand that if you can't change it, then you change it. A lot of things that we don't like to accept are things that we don't have any control over anyway. So look for,
What? Who
I
would
know,
who would you be talking about?
I was going to say, when we can't accept, when we're having a hard time accepting what is, really break it down into what parts of that can you control, what parts of that can't you control. And if you're not doing anything to change it, whether because you can't or you choose not to, then you just have to accept that. I mean, it's
And let
all
it
about
go.
acceptance.
Okay.
It's acceptance or action.
All
That's how you
right.
deal with what is. It's acceptance of what's going on, or you take action if you can to change it.
Okay. I know we couldn't see the beautiful illustrations. But anything that you would add about us as if we're parents talking to kids about all this that you've designed in terms of a special,
Yeah.
any kind of special tools or anything?
Well, and I think as parents, you get to be the examples. And until you're present, you can't teach your kids to be present.
Mm.
One thing I always tell people, and one thing I notice myself, especially when we get stressed, you find that you're stuck in this gray muck in your head. Give yourself a few minutes to stop and think about the thoughts that you have, because until you can delineate which ones they are, they're this jumbled mess. And so if you find yourself getting spun up or stressed or even just scared, sit for a minute and give all the thoughts in your head voices. That's the only way you'll be able to delineate them and then what to do with them. Because if you're just walking through this muck, you can probably get rid of 3/4 of that muck by knowing what it is.
I'm sure a lot of the parents out there that will be listening to this are familiar with the movie Inside Out. So are you
Mhm.
saying we just kind of give those voices like, no, I'm really scared and we should
Yeah,
all run away. And then you've got, so I just, that would be really fun to talk about with kids is let's put voice to these
yeah,
thoughts and
yeah.
give them different characters like the movie Inside Out does so well.
Yeah, they do it really well. And also Michael Singer's book, Seed of the Soul, where he talks about separating yourself from your thoughts and then you see them go past. You see them as something other than you. And here, like you said, if you have to and that's a great tip for the kids. Give their different thoughts, different voices or colors or textures, whatever that resonates with the kid, so they can and you can figure out what is causing this jumbled state inside your head. And then with the tools we have on our website, hey, what are the thoughts that you're thinking? Separate them out, write them down. Are they real? Are they not real? Can you do something about them? Do they apply to the past or the future? But really hear the thoughts. We're so used to just going along again in this haze of constant mental chatter
A
that
lot
we
of chatter
a
right now.
lot of chatter, and we've
Hmm.
never given ourselves permission, and there really haven't been the tools to say we don't need all the thoughts, and two, let's separate them out to find out which ones we actually do need and which ones we can get rid of.
Great.
First of all,
Um,
parents, yeah, to ask your kids what they're thinking.
well, I so appreciate the reading as well. It's so fun to hear you actually read it. And so we're going to go ahead and take a break here and we will have a sponsorship break and then we'll come back and we're going to talk a little bit about the wine for the parents at home with the kids and what you may want to be drinking after you have these great conversations with your kids at home. So thanks, Katie. We'll take a little break here and then come back and stay tuned. And Katie will be with us this whole time and we'll talk a little bit about wine next. Today's show is brought to you by the Savvy Wine Shopper. The Savvy Wine Shopper was developed, I was part of the developing team, that came up with an idea that we all don't want to geek out on wines like I do, for example. And some people just want to know a little bit more about choosing a wine at a liquor store, at a wine store. What do the labels mean? What does each country mean? What is it? How can you maybe break out of the same 4 bottles that you buy every time you walk into that store? So this is a grouping of online courses that are short, fun, that you can take. And right now, because of the coronavirus isolation situation going on in the US, all of the Savvy Wine Shopper courses that are currently taped and online are available for free. So go to our website, thesavvyWineshopper.com, and look for online courses. And you can take any of those courses right now for free. I hope to help you stay a little more entertained while we're all forced to stay isolated from each other at this time. thesavvyWineshopper.com.
Next up, Kirsten's choice for a wine to open after the show.
All right, welcome back to Wines and Wonders. Thank you very much to our sponsor of the day. And we are going to get started. I've got Katie Mullaly here. She is the author and publisher of the Land of Children's Books. And we've been talking about her fourth, well, she's got four books. I'm not sure which one it is. Which one is the Land of Now, Katie?
This was our fourth one. There's no
Was the
order
fourth?
to them, but this is our latest.
Okay, the latest book that's out.
Yeah.
So we were focusing on the Land of Now, and she's just a beautiful author and writer about tips and tricks and putting it into a wrapping of rhyming that's so fun to hear and share with your kids. And it may spur some great conversations as we are all in this world right now, or most of us. I don't think Texas is yet. Of isolation. So, I am an executive sommelier, as some of you know, and I am going to pair wines today that are organic and biodynamic, even. We're all familiar with organic, and that's obviously worrying about the earth and taking care of putting things in priority in regards to leaving an earth that we all can enjoy. And so those people that are organic are taking care of, those wineries are taking care of the now of the earth, also the future, but we'll just hope we'll take care of the now for right now. But then there's this really cool subject called, or type of growing called biodynamic. And the way I talk about biodynamic, you might see it on labels when you're reading a wine bottle label. Biodynamic is a tool that was developed about 100 years ago. And it is basically not just taking care of the earth now, it's taking care of the entire universe. So the wineries that are biodynamic actually see themselves as part of the phases of the moon, part of the Earth's whole interaction with the entire universe. And so they not only are organic, all of their surrounding neighbors that have land touching them have to be organic. And then they will use all of the sustainable practices at their winery. Plus, they go into what I would call the woo of the winery world. These are the like yoga instructors of the winery world. They will plant skulls of cows with herbs in them that have been chosen to bring what is needed to that specific field that they are planting their grapes in. As I just mentioned, they will plant or harvest their grapes and vines in conjunction with the phases of the moon. And so there are all sorts of these woo woo kinds of things that they follow. And so biodynamic is a really important and interesting foray into a new way to create and produce wines. So we will be right back with the wine that I will specifically choose to go with The Land of Now children's book by Katie Mullaly right after this.
Stay tuned to hear what type of wine Kirsten will pair with this story right after this.
Welcome back, guys. All right, get your glasses ready or your pencils ready, because we know that most of the liquor stores are still open in the US. And so after you hear about this, perhaps you can go out and try to find a biodynamic wine, whether it's this one or another one, to honor and tie to the Land of Now book that we just heard Katie read to us. So I have chosen what was my gateway wine. It was truly, I fell in love with this wine when I was first learning about wines. And I drank it so much that if there was any other wine that someone served me, I would kind of like think it tasted wrong because it wasn't this specific wine. So this is the Benziger Family Winery. It is out of Sonoma County, California. And this wine, I could go into like hours of describing this wine. It is creamy, it is buttery, and it has tropical fruits like bananas and mangoes that come out of it. It is absolutely such a fun wine, and it also still keeps that acidity. So it's not overly unctuous where you don't have any crispness to it, but it's just a beautifully done wine. The Benziger family does wines in a biodynamic style. So this is their their priority. And so that is the wine. Again, Benziger Family Winery, Sonoma County Chardonnay. I don't care what year, they're all good. And I would love it if you guys do buy this wine, or if you have a favorite organic or biodynamic wine to share with all of us. If you will leave comments, we have a Facebook page, an Instagram page. All of those are at Wines and Wonders. And so share with us what you like, and perhaps you can also share any experiences that you have with reading to your children any of these books, other books as well. Getting together and reading is never a bad thing, but The Land of Now by Katie Mullaly is available on Amazon, and we'll have links on our show notes page at winesandwonders.com. Katie, is there anything you would want to add about wine? I know you love wine because we've had wine together
Hmm.
before. Anything that you'd want to add about how we'd want to end the show up here today?
Um, I like to say that my books are tools to help navigate life's terrain. So all of your listeners out there who maybe don't have children, I wrote these for me. I wrote these for all of us. There's no
Yes, you did.
harm in having a really great self-help. I call them cleverly disguised life lessons. So why can't we as adults enjoy a beautifully illustrated, fun rhymes, a book that really can provide tools for all of us? So don't feel like it has to be just for kids. I have plenty of adults who have bought themselves their own copies, and they usually apologize for it. And I'm like, nope, no, 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 no. These are for you. You should be proud. So kids or no kids, these are books for all ages with tools and messages for all ages.
Thank you, Katie. So great to get to see your face and hear your voice from afar as we are in this period of isolation. And Wines and Wonders listeners, thank you so much for joining us, and stay socially distanced, but please try to stay connected to your friends and family as we go all through this together. See you next time on Wines and Wonders.
If you've got a moment, please leave a review on your podcast station of choice. And thank you for tuning in to Wines and Wonders.